United States President Joe Biden announced he's barring Nicaraguan President Daniel Ortega from entering the U.S. along with other officials. United States care workers marched in front of the Capitol in Washington on Tuesday to urge the Congress members to pass the Build Back Better, a bill that's social welfare spending package worth of $1.85 trillion. The Nigerian Union of Petroleum and Natural Gas Workers issued a 2-week strike notice, leading to panic buying of fuel. From the headquarters of Telesur English in Havana, Cuba, this is From the South. I'm your anchor, Gladys Quesada. These are the news. The United States continues its attacks on Nicaragua. This Tuesday, President Joe Biden announced he's barring Nicaraguan President Daniel Ortega from entering the United States, along with other officials. The move comes a day after the U.S. Treasury Department slapped sanctions on 9 Nicaraguan officials and the public ministry in response to what it calls sham elections. The general elections of November 7th saw the re-election of President Daniel Ortega, as well as another landslide victory in parliament for the Sandinista National Liberation Front. The suspension includes Ortega, Vice President Rosario Murillo, who is also Ortega's wife, and other government members, including elected officials and their staff members. Biden also announced the extension of the national emergency declared with respect to the situation in Nicaragua by the U.S. in 2018. Tuesday also saw Nicaragua's Congress call for the country's withdrawal from the Organization of American States after its General Assembly attacked its electoral process. The president of Venezuela's National Electoral Council, Pedro Calzadilla, announced the deployment of the 2021 Republic Plan to guarantee the security of the regional and municipal elections to be held this coming Sunday, November 21st. The electoral official highlighted the importance of these elections for the country, as well as the November 26 vote for the indigenous representatives to regional and municipal legislative bodies in 8 states of Venezuela. He also expressed his gratitude for the work carried out by the Bolivarian National Armed Forces to ensure a climate of peace in the upcoming elections. Calzadilla pointed out that the electoral timetable is being followed, with the arrival at the polling stations of voting materials and technical equipment.
The taking over of polling stations. Tomorrow, Wednesday, 17th, polling stations will receive the material. On Thursday, 18th, the technical staff will receive and take charge of election materials. On Friday, 19th, ballots will be set up as previous step of what will happen on Sunday. And on Sunday, elections will take place. This is a moment already full of an enormous symbolic charge. The deployment, the startup, the deployment of Operation Republic. We see this moment as a starting point, of course, the deployment, but also as a point of arrival. We have arrived at this moment after an arduous journey or arduous working days during 6 months of working, preparing what in a few days is coming to materialize.
Meanwhile, Venezuelan Attorney General Tarek William Saab highlighted the importance of this security deployment to guarantee peace and the right of Venezuelan people to cast their vote in the November 21st elections.
Why are our Bolivarian National Armed Forces deployed? To guarantee peace, to guarantee the human right to vote, to suffrage. Military, police agents of the state will be protagonists of a historic event that will put an end to and must leave behind all this terrible criminal action against our people, our institutions, and Republican peace. Why are our Bolivarian National Armed
Venezuelan
Forces...
President Nicolás Maduro Moros stressed Tuesday that officials of the U.S. State Department are once again undermining the country's elections, even before they have been held.
Today, spokesman of the Department of the United States spoke out against the free and sovereign elections in Venezuela. It is embarrassing, it is shameful that the State Department intends to interfere in the internal affairs of Venezuela and intends to discredit the elections that have been thoughtfully prepared.
President Maduro also urged the population to get ready to turn out to vote this Sunday.
I call on all Venezuelans, men and women, to get ready for early Sunday morning. This coming Sunday, attention to all working men and women, comrades, people who listen to me, compatriots who listen to me. It is this Sunday, 5 days, and the beautiful dawn will come this Sunday. Get ready with your family, with your husband, with your wife, with your boyfriend, with your girlfriend, mother, father, grandmother, granddaughter, with your neighbor, and let's all vote for Venezuelan democracy, for the peace of Venezuela, for the perfect electoral system that we have.
Now we move on to other topics. The Bolivian Senate unanimously approved the repeal of the country's money laundering law this Tuesday in the midst of a far-right opposition protest. The Chamber of Deputies of Bolivia approved the bill earlier in the day after more than 6 hours of debate. The ruling movement towards Socialism Party denounced the move, noting it was part of a clear political agenda by groups seeking to destabilize the government, democratically elected by the majority of the Bolivian people. The ruling party also took to the opportunity to recall the 2019 coup against former President Evo Morales. Despite the repeal of the law, right-wing forces say they will continue their demands and the protest against the government. As was expected, Chile's Senate rejected a move to impeach President Sebastián Piñera over corruption allegations since Tuesday. Last week, the lower house passed the impeachment, meaning Piñera's fate was put in the hands of senators. This was the second impeachment attempt after the president faced accusations of human rights abuses in the major 2019 social unrest, a move which was rejected in the first instance during a vote in the Chamber of Deputies. The latest impeachment attempt was linked to the purchase and sale of the Dominga Mining Company in the tax haven of the British Virgin Islands following the revelations of the Pandora Papers investigation. The impeachment was not expected to pass in the Senate, as Piñera enjoys majority support in the upper house. We'll be right back after this very short break, so don't go away. Welcome back to From the South. United States care workers marched in front of the Capitol in Washington on Tuesday to urge the Congress members to pass the Build Back Better bill, a social welfare spending package worth up to $1.85 trillion. The Care Can't Wait rally was organized and attended by a number of organizations, including the Service Employees International Union, National Domestic Workers Alliance, and the Moms Rising. The Build Back Better Act includes billions for universal preschool and all 3 and 4 years olds, child care, health care for older U.S. citizens, and an extension of the child tax credit. The package also includes funds to tackle climate change and increases taxes on corporations.
My message to the Congress and Senate, the President, all the leaders is, what are you going to do when you need care? Do you have the money? Do you have the person? Do you have somebody that you're going to have to care for you? Because maybe you're not dealing with it right now, but along the line, you're going to deal with it. And at that time, we have so many people that are doing that now with COVID. They need help and they need care.
I didn't think it was important because I didn't fit in that category, but when I found myself having to leave my job and couldn't continue to provide for myself. And
Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov denounced the use of tear gas and water cannons by Polish forces against asylum seekers seeking to enter the EU nation from Belarus.
The behavior of the Polish side is absolutely unacceptable. I think that the use of tear gas and water cannons and shots fired above the heads of migrants towards the direction of Belarus, this all shows, I believe, the desire to hide their actions.
Forces fired tear gas at people trying to cross the border from Belarus on Tuesday. The situation escalated after a standoff near the Bruzy-Kuznica border crossing on the European Union's eastern frontier, which began last week when hundreds of people gathered in the area. Border authorities estimated up to 4,000 asylum seekers are now camped out along the border between Poland and Belarus in increasingly dire conditions and also freezing temperatures. At least 11 people have died on both sides since the movement started in the summer. The joint meeting of the Syrian-Russian Ministerial Coordination Committees on the return of Syrian refugees began in Damascus this Tuesday. The main purpose of the meeting is to find solutions to the problems hindering the return of Syrians to their homeland. Our correspondent, Hicham Wanus, brings us more details.
The joint efforts of Syria and Russia contributed to the return of more than 2 million displaced Syrians, as was noted by the senior political, military and humanitarian officials from both countries at the opening session of the event. They vowed to continue the joint efforts to provide a favorable environment for the return of all Syrian refugees to their homeland. We are providing all the necessary conditions to ensure the return of refugees, which is why hundreds of thousands of refugees returned voluntarily. Also, more than 2 million internally displaced persons returned to their homes, and this is a joint effort we are carrying out with our Russian friends, and a priority effort carried out by the Syrian government under direct instructions of President Bashar al-Assad. Both Damascus and Moscow denounced that the return of refugees, in addition to the refusals of host countries, is a challenge to the Western blockade and the theft of Syria's natural resources by foreign occupation troops. Both sides are pushing for the implementation of joint projects in the fields of reconstruction, trade, economy, and the fight against extremism in order to overcome these difficulties. Western countries, especially the United States, understand that the policy of maximum pressure they exert on the Syrian government and the Syrian people is not yielding results, and that is why we believe it is necessary to stop this collective punishment of the Syrian people, and that is why I believe that they are currently reevaluating their position and their objectives, especially regarding humanitarian issues. The meeting will last 4 days, where in addition to delivery of humanitarian, educational and medical aid, Syrian and Russian agencies will address issues related to the press, housing, public works, local administration, electricity, higher education, agriculture, industry and health. Damascus spares no effort to ensure the safe and dignified return of Syrian refugees and displaced persons to their homes in the areas liberated from terrorism. In addition to the support of Russia and other friendly countries, Damascus calls for the support of the United Nations and other international organizations to achieve this goal.
Now we address other topics. The latest wave of coronavirus cases in Germany is pushing hospitals in the state of Saxony to their limits. Some patients have been transferred to university hospitals in the wider region, as happened last winter during the severe second wave. As reported on Tuesday by the Leipzig University Hospital, a total of 17 people have been moved to the facilities in September, mainly for intensive care treatment of COVID-19. Patients are mainly transferred when dependent on special heart-lung machines that are only currently available in the state capital in Leipzig. According to figures from the Ministry of Social Affairs, more than 300 COVID-19 patients are currently receiving intensive care in Saxony, with wards at around 90% capacity. Croatian authorities moved to introduce mandatory COVID-19 passes on Tuesday amid the surge in coronavirus cases battering Central and Eastern Europe. Over the past couple of weeks, Croatia and neighboring Slovenia have been some of the highest rates of new cases per million people in the world, surpassing even the figures they saw during the first wave of the pandemic in the spring of 2020. Local experts said this is due to a number of factors, which include the new, more contagious strains circulating among Croatia's 4 million people, as well as relatively low rates of vaccination due to vaccine skepticism. Starting on Tuesday, certificates in the form of scannable QR codes which confirm that the person has been either vaccinated against COVID-19, has recovered from the disease, or has recently tested negative are required to enter any public or government building. And we have more stories coming up after this financial break, so stay with us. Welcome back to From the South. The Nigeria Union of Petroleum and Natural Gas Workers issued a 2-week strike notice, leading to panic buying of fuel. The capital, Abuja, has seen long queues of vehicles at petrol stations as the threat of fuel shortages sparked panic among drivers. Sector workers have accused various oil companies of unfair labor practices and are demanding that the Labor Ministry resolve the issue. The union said the strike was one of the decisions reached at its special National Delegates Conference. Nigeria is a sub-Saharan Africa's biggest oil producer and a member of the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries. And the landmark trial of the assassination of Burkina Faso's revolutionary leader Thomas Sankara continues, as witnesses testify. The trial, conducted in a military court in the capital Ouagadougou, surrounding the 1987 assassination of Sankara and 12 of his companions, is being keenly followed in the country, there where the killing 34 years ago casts a long shadow. Last week, the defendant, General Gilbert Diender, pleaded not guilty. Diender was allegedly an architect of the coup during which Sankara was killed and his former comrade Blaise Compaoré came to power. The 61-year-old faces charges of harming state security, complicity in murder, concealing bodies, and witness tampering. Compaoré faces the same charges but is being tried in absentia. He has long been suspected of ordering Sankara's killing, an allegation he denies.
Two witnesses who came, I think everyone followed. They confirmed the evidence that we have put forward, that we have supported since the beginning of this trial. One, that contrary to what they say, this story of the 8 o'clock plot by Sankara to assassinate the other officers was pure invention. Two, that it was not isolated elements who spontaneously took action to assassinate Captain Sankara, that it was a well-planned plan, to use the words of a witness, and skillfully orchestrated.
Guinea-Bissau celebrated its 48th Independence Day and Armed Forces Day this Tuesday with a military parade attended by political leaders from across the region. Unlike guerrilla movements on other Portuguese colonies which began in 1956 and was led by the African Party for the Independence of Guinea and Cape Verde, under the leadership of Amílcar Cabral, rapidly extended its military control over large portions of the territory. Aided by the jungle-like terrain, its easily reached borderlands with neighboring allies, and support from Cuba, China, the Soviet Union, and left-leaning African countries. Independence from colonial rule was declared in 1973, and recognized in 1974 when the name of its capital, Bissau, was added to the country's name to prevent confusion with the former French colony of Guinea. The country has seen political instability since independence, and only one elected president has successfully served a full 5-year term. The current president is Umaro Sissoco Embalo, who was elected on December 29, 2019.
We have lost almost half of the 48 years of independence, as Guinea-Bissau has been plunged into political crisis of a different nature. All these crises have had negative impacts on public institutions and on the economic life of the country, with serious social consequences. It was a long and difficult period that ended shortly after the presidential elections and my inauguration in early 2020. Since then, Guinea-Bissau has been able to fully recover its regal responsibilities in the concert of nations.
And South Africa declared 4 days of national mourning after the death of November 11th of its last white president, Frederick de Klerk. The office of President Cyril Ramaphosa announced that national mourning will be observed from Wednesday evening to Sunday evening, and that the national flag will be flown at half-mast as a mark of respect. A private funeral is planned for Sunday, and an official commemoration will also be held at a date yet to be determined. The death of de Klerk has generated mixed reactions in South Africa, with some criticizing the Nobel Peace Prize winner for never having made a full apology for the crimes of the apartheid.
He was a leader of a party that was largely discredited in relation to the role that the National Party played in enforcing apartheid. But he had the courage to step away from the path that his party that he led had embarked upon from 1948. And we will remember him for that.
Now we move on to other topics. Search and rescue officials in British Columbia have confirmed multiple fatalities after a deadly storm hit the Pacific Northwest, destroying highways and leaving tens of thousands of people in Canada and the U.S. without power. Canada's largest port was cut off by floodwaters as emergency crews in British Columbia announced on Tuesday that at least 10 vehicles had been swept off a highway during a landslide. The Royal Canadian Mounted Police confirmed a woman's body was recovered from the site of the landslide during a search in the previous night. And we have come to the end of this news brief. But remember, you can find this and many other stories on our website at telesurienglish.net. And also, if you feel so inclined, please join us on social media for all the latest news. We are on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Telegram. For Telesur English, I'm Gladys Quesada. Thank you for watching.